Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel, and today we're going to be reviewing Blokees Transformers Galaxy version 4 Fractured Space-Time model kit set. So this is 9 figures, and if you buy the whole set, it comes with a guarantee of every character, as opposed to doing like a gacha, try to get all of them and not any dupes. And obviously I didn't want to waste time or money on that, so I did buy the whole set. And this cost me roughly $90 Canadian, which isn't too bad for 9 model kits, albeit they are pretty small, but it was a pretty fun experience. This was my first time opening it, so I wanted to see if it's worth investing in the future for more of them. Now the box is very pretty, and here you can see all the characters, and there is a chance for you to get like a shiny version, like a very rare version of one character for each of the sets, and in this set it's Shockwave. I am not going to tell you if I got him or not, but we'll find out soon enough because it was one of my earlier pulls. So this is what the box looks like individually. Obviously at conventions people will sell randoms of these all the time. One thing I hate about these is the way that the box opens. It's like it's not meant to be opened in a satisfying way, which sucks a little bit, but either way, that's not what we're here for. We're here for the model kits themselves. Now, one thing I will say is that it is almost impossible to do these in one setting without like destroying your fingers and your hands and getting carpal tunnel. So I recommend doing at most 3 at a time. I ended up doing 3 in one night and then 6 in the other night with like a break in between. So that was pretty neat. Each of the kits are going to come with a stand, and then 2 sets for runners just for different joints, and then 1 set for the hands, and then all the weapons. And then on this side of the page is all the extras for all the other characters, which is neat. And then on the other side is like the main how-to, but it is just for Snarl, which is one of the characters in the set. So that was a little frustrating because I was like, I don't know what I'm doing. This is my first set, but once you get used to it, it's all good. For some of the more complicated figures, I'll leave my full process in. Otherwise, we will be skipping forward for some of the more mundane, regular characters, just so we're not wasting your time too much. I did speed this up a little bit, but this is still a pretty long video, just because everything is in here, and it's all the connection. These joints are a pain to connect. It hurt a lot for me. I'm sure there's easier ways, but that's why I need to reiterate, like, you need to take breaks because it will hurt. So for most of the figures, you do put these little arm extensions there, which is awesome, and then they have those clear plastic bulbs for joints and like head pieces, which is awesome. And for here is our first figure, which is Nemesis Prime. His and Smokescreen's faces were a little hard to get into like the helmet part, but it's all good. We survived. It was just a lot of pressing really hard. And one thing we'll notice is that all of them follow the same basic formula, which is torso, hip joints. Hip joints is going to get a cover on the front and the back, and then the legs are going to be the little connector piece, the muscle to bend and things like that, and then the shins, and then the feet. It's all pretty straightforward things you'll see as we keep going through. And then this is one of the arms for Nemesis. It is hard, but one thing, like, it's hard to connect, but one thing that I do enjoy is that everything snaps. Like 98% of the time it will snap into place. It'll make that satisfying sound, so you know that it worked, which is really fun. As for the shoulder pieces, sometimes you slide them on from either the side or from the top. You have to just pay attention to the grooves that are on the inside. And one extra thing that's neat is what gives every character its more distinction is that they'll have different chest and back pieces, which is pretty fun. Here is me struggling to realize that you needed to have that little transparent connector thing in there, and then one thing you realize is that that piece that connects there is actually the back. It's sort of like your calves, and then the front is always an extra add-on for the shin. So just to reiterate, it's going to be the foot, the connector piece, the calf, then the shin add-on, and then you'll have the joint for the bending, and then the upper part of the leg, and then that will be able to connect back to the torso. I'm not quite sure which of the different methods of assembly I prefer more, but I do explore a couple throughout this video, and I think generally it's just building them ground up. That's pretty fun usually. But anyways, here is Nemesis Prime. He does have these blasters that he comes with. As for the sword, that just goes into his fist. All the weapons are held through the fist. The other hand is just more for effect. And he did come with a second blaster, so I decided to put that on too, just so I don't have to put that in storage or anything like that. But yeah, that's this figure. It's pretty neat. As for this, you can't really do any crazy poses if you're going to tab in both legs, but that's all good. And then those little pieces that it comes with, it's like a little Autobot Decepticon logo. It doesn't go anywhere other than their hands, so I neglect those. Anyways, on to our second one. This one is my favorite Constructicon, which we have been reviewing a lot recently with previous videos. And in this pack, there are two Constructicons, Hook and Scrapper. So let's see which one we get first. And yes, I did have a little bit of disappointment when I realized that all the instructions were relative to snow, but that's okay. It doesn't really matter in the long run. These things are relatively straightforward. I do have to say that the colors are awesome. Everything is vibrant. Everything feels nice. Doesn't feel bland. It's very character specific, so that's bonus points for that. As for Scrapper, he did have a little bit more complicated pieces, which was a neat little change. Not that I've been super used to it by then, but yeah. Some of the characters, I believe both Constructicons did have this, is their shins are in a particular order, so you have to keep that in mind. And not that it's hard to change, but you just want to, the shins are specific to the foot, if you really care for looks and aesthetics. One thing, you have to make sure that everything is straight when you put it on, because the little green ball joints do have a tab that goes inside the chest piece. You don't want to break that, and it won't connect properly without doing that. You don't really have to force much, like a little bit of force, but not too much. If you do feel like you have to force it a lot, then that could be a sign that maybe you're not doing it correctly. Either way, his back piece is neat. It has lots of articulation. The arms are normal, but they do have the extra feature of the wheels, which is pretty neat. Just because it works with the vehicle form in the hypothetical case where it was transforming. But here, as you can see, you slide the shoulder piece on top, and then you put the wheel in. Articulation is pretty nice in this figure. Like I'm sure they're all relatively the same, but just the way that Scrapper's shoulder piece is set up, it just feels like he can move a lot more than the other figures, which is neat. As for the headpiece, it's a little bit more complicated than Nemesis. You have the eyes pretty much that are going to slide into the head. What you can do is either put in the front or the back, and then you just connect the two pieces together and make sure that the little ball socket joint is angled towards the bottom. Obviously it won't fit in as properly if it's angled towards the top, but just that way you can actually connect the head to the figure. And then he does come with a gun, which is pretty neat. As you can see, this is a lot faster than our Nemesis. So without further ado, let's move on to our third figure. Now, I'm not sure if this is specific to this set or if it's Blokees in general. I guess I'll just have to buy another set to find out for sure. But no matter what you do, if you use scissors or you try to rip it, it's just not made to open properly without tearing. Which is unfortunate because the box is very nice. I like the colors and how shiny everything is. But I did preserve 2 of them just for keepsake, but the rest of them went out in the trash. Unfortunately, yeah, we do end up ripping them, which sucks. Anyways. For this figure, it came with silica gel, which I wasn't really sure why, but as you could guess from the color of the plastic, it is none other than Snarl's dinosaur form. And this one is neat. It has an interesting take on how you use that chest piece because they reused all the materials that you'd see in the other figures. So it's pretty interesting. I enjoyed it. As you can see, we still have that chest piece and the backpack and everything that we're able to put on. And this is one of the cases where you want to make sure everything is lined up properly or else it won't be able to close super well. And then after that, it just kind of pegs into the, I guess, the spine. And then these little red pieces go to the side just to give him a little bit more presence, which is awesome. And they do kind of slide really nicely on top of the yellow lines from the spikes. So that's always bonus points for that. Just a side note for the front legs, they do have a specific orientation, but you can just turn it around if you get it wrong based off of the instructions, which is totally fine. Just the way that their toes are, basically. But that's pretty much it. It's pretty neat the way they recycled some of the parts for the legs. It's pretty fun. Here's where we have one of those slightly different head sculpts, where you have the blue piece here that's for the eyes, and then make sure that the circle part is, like the whole part is angled towards the bottom so that you could pin it onto the swivel. And then this one was a little bit tough to get in, just fully like closed, but once it's in, which is neat. I did have to like fix it a little bit off camera, and there you go. That's the Dinobot form for Snarl, and it's pretty cool. I mean, it looks nice. It doesn't stand as nicely as the other ones would, but it's still Dinobot, so I'm happy with it. Anyways, moving on to our next one. Here is our drum roll for the Mystery Shockwave, and bust. There was like a super low chance of getting it. I got the regular Shockwave, that's totally fine. If I'm correct, the main difference is that the mauve light purple parts are more of a translucent purple, which is neat. But of all like the shiniest, this one's okay, in my opinion. I've seen some from other packs that seem nicer, but I could be wrong. I would have to collect them all to really tell you for sure. Anyways, Shockwave was a little bit more complicated, which is why we're keeping it in for this video. So it starts getting a little bit different here, where we have his hand slash gun, his laser, instead of like a normal hand. And then like for the backpack, there's a couple additions to give him the power cable that helps fuel his gun, which is neat. And the chest piece is neat as well, with that piece of plastic in the middle. As you're about to see, so that would normally be like a translucent bright purple if we had the shiny version. Backpack, it does go up pretty high, but you just trust the process. ignore my fiance just going up to the background. She was pretty silly, just telling me something. And here you go. Now we have pretty much the base figure set up, and then the head has that same little piece where we have to put on the yellow eyeball type of thing, which is neat. And you close everything up so it does look pretty nice altogether. So I chose to put the fist because he does come with a gun that you put on, which is a neat one. I'm pretty sure that's just his transformation, but as a tiny mini gun, because G1 Transformers do the mass shifting thing. Anyways, that is the cable to connect between the backpack and the gun. Not super secure, but it's neat. I'm not complaining about it. It does give him the desired look. He does have the shoulders to make him a little bit more beefy, and he looks great. Absolutely phenomenal. And this is the gun. There is a specific orientation. Just once you see the instructions, it'll make a lot more sense. And that is Shockwave, dual wielding. And he does have this neat extra hand, which is the meme hand. I didn't show it too much. Those who know. Anyways, moving on to our next figure. So this one is one of my favorite figures. It is very neat, and I love the color scheme, I love the character, and it is Tarn. Now, he doesn't officially come with any weapons, but his backpack does turn into a weapon just like his Legacy Hasbro release figure. I don't really showcase this in the video, but it is something that you can do, which is neat. Now, this guy is the first of the unconventional builds, which is really fun. I am a fan of the two different shades of purple. It's very neat. Now, he does also have specific order to his shins, and at the end of the day, it's not the end of the world, but the mid-bottom part, the pink little piece there should be towards the outside. This build is pretty interesting because it does not use those little shoulder rotation pieces that we have that immediately connect to the torso. It's actually a much bigger piece that overtakes everything, which we're going to see in just a moment once I'm done snipping these little guys and building the joints. I do have to admit, those joints are a pain on the fingers, so keep that in mind whenever you do build these guys, assuming you will. And then next piece here would be exactly it, his torso area and his hips. And then as for the upper chest part, now you're going to see this is where things get a little bit more different. So this will actually go on top and then hide the little arm pieces and give those higher up new arm pieces, basically, because the way that his mold works in general is a little bit different than the traditional like human body that we're used to. Anyways, this is the backpack part, and the front chest part goes exactly like that on top, and it doesn't feel super sturdy, but it kind of stays like that. But with everything weighing down, it's fine. It's not going to fall off or anything. Then you have this little pink part inside his chest piece to give extra pink to like the buttons and different things at the front of his chest. And the arms are kind of fun to build. I do enjoy the conventional stuff. This is the weapon I was talking about. This is usually like an arm blaster for the more mainstream Hasbro release. But here we just have it on top of his backpack, which is neat because it also looks like a Decepticon logo. Alright, so now that we're back, we can start with the basics of the usuals for the arms, which is the joint with the sort of forearm and the shoulder piece. I have found that you are able to sort of just bend and twist some of the pieces out, which has just helped a lot with like movement variation and just not getting carpal tunnel. Anyways, they do have so it'll start with like a shoulder piece that you'll put on top. Side note here is that I realized that the legs don't have those two extra little dots for the shoulder pieces to slide in, so keep that in mind if you do have a character with the same colored leg pieces and arm pieces. But yeah, the shoulder pieces are done as so, and they connect to the side of that extra chest piece that we mentioned earlier, which is neat because it gives him a lot more of a presence, broader chest, which allows him to be more terrifying, which is amazing. Perfect, and his head is also a little bit more complicated, just like Snarl. So you have this at the back of the head, and then the pink is for his eyes. You just have to shimmy that in to the right holes, which are very tiny. And once that's in, you put into the other side of the helmet, and then you just kind of have to put in the Decepticon logo face that he has. After that, he's pretty much done, and he's awesome, powerful looking. I'm pretty happy with this guy. That was the main reason I got him, and Shockwave were the two main reasons I got this. Then again, Nemesis too, because those are like my top 3 Decepticons. Anyways, on to the next one. Now it's kind of about time that we start getting some Autobots up in here, so we're going to start with Smokescreen. And this guy is fun. I love the character. I love his alt mode. My only complaint about this one was the helmet, and like his face, putting it on was the same process as Nemesis, but a little bit more painful on the fingers. But colors are very refreshing with all the purple that we've been seeing recently. An extra thing I wanted to say is having all the white there is also another very refreshing thing. I really like the vibrant white and blue color scheme he has going on right now. And as you may or may not be hearing, depending on my music, is the very satisfying clicks as things go onto the Smokescreen. This is the first character so far where his front chest piece does look actually like the front of the car, mostly because most of them aren't really cars, but it was very neat to have that up here. And I do really like that he comes with his wings, which are the car doors, and the 2 shoulder mounted guns that he has, which is very accurate and very cool for a little Blokees figure. So pretty fun stuff that's about to come. Here is where this helmet thing gets really difficult. It just won't slide on. I lined it up a lot of times here, and it slides on but not super well. It doesn't really look like his face because of that extra gap. I wish it was a little bit easier. I even tried taking it off to try to get it on. It was a pain, and it hurt a lot because like trying to press this plastic together, very painful. Eventually I gave up and I got it as close as I could, and then I decided that we're gonna move on, and there's more important things to focus our time on. Here are the doors, and he does overall look pretty great. I would say him and the Dinobot Snarl mode are the two worst of the pack, but it doesn't mean that they're bad in any way. They're still pretty neat. I'm not the biggest fan of his gun size, but that's all good. It's probably relevant to the source material. And now we're down to the last 3 figures. So I was guessing for this one, and I was hoping to get Snarl in robot mode. That was my guess, but I am very unlucky when it comes to any type of gambling. So who do we get? Ultra Magnus. But I do have to say that all the white joints, all the runners being white, is another breath of fresh air. It's just neat. One thing with the more complicated figures is usually I like to pre-build everything and get everything ready, but there's just too many pieces to lay everything else out. So as you can see, I like building them just ground up. So like usual, we'll do the feet, we'll do the calves and the shins, and then they have these white pieces that go on top of the shins, which is neat. And these are not unique, they're the same for both shins, so they're interchangeable, which is neat. And like I said, the white is just very fun for the runners. It's a very nice difference, so I enjoyed this one a lot more. And here is the other figure, which is just like Tarn, where we don't actually want to put those little shoulder joints, the white ones, because he comes with his backpack that actually acts as the extended shoulder joints to have more movement on the arms, and just because the figure is generally bigger. Ultra Magnus and Tarn are very big compared to the rest of them. And here you can see what it looks like when we put it on top. And then he has this little chest piece with the, I guess, pink reddish clear plastic, and it goes right there on the front. And then building his arms is a little bit more satisfying than I would have thought, and that's mostly because they're huge and they do have those missiles on his shoulders. So now we're just going to put that to the side. As for the head, it's not too difficult. It is the same manner of sliding the eyes inside the back of the head, and then you're putting in like the faceplate with the antennas, and then the front of the head, and it's neat. It looks great. And then don't forget the little peg for the joint to be able to move the head around, and he has a pretty accurate gun, and it's awesome. I'm really happy with this one. They did a really good job. Two more left, and I actually got my fiance to open this one just because I wanted her to see how annoying these boxes were. Or I guess don't mind my feminine hands if you don't believe me. And here is, I believe this is Snarl. Yes, exactly. I was going off of memory for this one. It's pretty neat. The colors are neat. Obviously this one's coming since we already had the Dinobot form, and she obviously didn't stay around for the rest of it. But building him was really easy because we had the instructions right next to us. So pretty happy with that one. This guy on top of his shins had the extra little parts from the dino form, which are neat, the scales here. And other than that, it's the same generic figure with the extra little backpack piece, which we'll get to sometime soon. Here you can see that the backpack piece, I did struggle with it a little bit. It's on an angle for you to connect the little pieces in there, so you kind of have to just force it and break your fingers to make sure it goes and stays in. It doesn't feel super stable, but there's no way for them to pop out after it's on its back, so that's fine. It's just a little silly. It is neat that he does come with his sword, just like he uses in the show. And one thing that I just want to complain a little bit about this figure is that the shoulder pads for him they're not as good, I guess, as the other ones. They pop up a lot easier, which is weird, but it's just a little bit of an adjustment when posing. And yeah, the headpiece is very similar to what we've been seeing recently. You put the blue eyes into the face, then it goes into the head, the back of the head, and it's neat. It looks great. His sculpt overall looks awesome. And then now we're moving on to our last one, which is a Constructicon, leaving us at a ratio of 4 to 5 for Autobots and Decepticons, which is pretty neat. And this Constructicon is none other than Decepticon Hook, and it is also a pretty neat figure that I enjoyed building a lot. And once again, we have the very bright lime green runners and plastic pieces, and it's absolutely amazing. I think it's awesome. Everything just feels very, very vibrant, and it's a pretty nice way to end the whole set on. It's nice that it was just a mix of colors. Every character was pretty much different. And as usual, his shins are different, but it doesn't really matter which one's which, but for the accuracy of the toy, you can just refer to the instructions because you'll be able to see them on there. And one final thing I just want to note here is be careful when putting on this hook piece, because I was a little too silly and I slid that in backwards, because I think that's actually what the instructions said, but you can't take that out without destroying it. So no matter how hard you try. So I gave up eventually. It's not really that big of a deal, but just keep that in mind. Make sure it's where you want it to be, you know? Anyways, this pretty much concludes the Blokees set number 4, and I have nothing but pretty good things to say about this. I'm really happy I got this, and while it was a little expensive, it was worth the price. I would definitely separate this into multiple sessions. I would never do that at the same time, just because it like destroys your fingers. But overall, I'm pretty happy, and I give this like a solid 8.5 out of 10. Thanks for watching. Let me know what you think down in the comments below. Should I buy another one? Is there any specific one you guys want to see? Also, we got a bonus Energon cube, so that was awesome. Thanks for watching.